Hello friends, today's video is a little bit different than the usual. We're not going to be talking about any manga or anime or video games. We're going to actually be talking about Magic the Gathering, and this is somewhat in honor of the fact that the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering collaboration is coming out very soon. And as somebody who really enjoys Magic and who really enjoys Final Fantasy, I am so unbelievably excited, and I wanted to share some of my Magic the Gathering cards with all of you. I have broken it up into the different types as well as different colors. I primarily use white, but I actually do use every single color. It's just the focus is mostly white. I'm not really going to worry about land cards. There's only one land card I'm going to mention, and the rest are going to be what you would expect: the creatures, instants, sorceries, enchantments, and a couple planeswalkers. I would love to know, based off of, if you are a huge Magic the Gathering fan, based off the cards I show you, are there some other cards that you're like, you gotta get this one, you gotta find this because it'll go so well with your cards? Do you have any tips or anything for what I end up showing? Because as much as I love Magic the Gathering, it is one of those things that the more you play and the more familiar with it you get and the more into it you get, the more knowledge that you have. And I have not had as many opportunities to get as into it as I would like. So I'd appreciate any input you have or anything you want to say. I would absolutely love it. And on that note, let's jump into it. I'm going to start with creatures, as I feel like, I don't know, I am a big sucker for a good instant because it's just fun to ruin somebody's day, but I feel like the creatures are where you get some of the most breathtaking art. So we're going to kick it off with them, and because I primarily use white, I figured we would go ahead and start off with those. Kicking it off with one of the most brutal cards that I have, we have Angelic Skirmisher. This is one that is flying. I do have a lot of angels in my deck, and it says at the beginning of each combat, choose First Strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink. Creatures you control gain that ability until the end of the turn, and it's a 4/4, which is absurd. I absolutely love that card. When it comes up, my husband does everything he can to get that card out of there because I already have a lot of land that gives me life back, and I do enjoy lifelink, but there are some games where my total life will just go up to an insane amount. So the fact that she can get me lifelink back every time, if I so choose, is already brutal, especially because white tends to have a decent amount of vigilance as well. So I'm already more inclined to choose lifelink, especially too because of the fact that it's flying. So then it's just a deadly combination. Love that card. It also is so unfortunate in combination with Bruna, the Fading Light. So this particular angel card, when you cast it, you may return a target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and she has flying and lifelink, and she is 5/7. All these are going to be on the screen, so I'm not going to worry about saying the cost of them because that'll be up. But the fact that when Angelic Skirmisher gets pushed out, I have the ability to bring it back in is just so mean. And then we have another angel card I'm a big fan of. This particular one, it says when it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control this. And it is 5/5. That one, while great, the fact that it's not indestructible does mean that it becomes a target very quickly, and even though the perks are really good, it's one of those that just draws so much attention to it because of how great it is. Those cards all together are very deadly. I do have a number of cards that aren't quite that expensive, which we'll be getting into soon. One of them being this human cleric. It is a Keen Sight Mentor. When it enters the battlefield, put a vigilance counter on a target non-human creature you control. Then if I spend one and a plains and tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with vigilance. I do enjoy those cards that allow you to continuously boost. I will say I definitely have seen other cards that boost at a quicker rate or just create new creatures, and I do think that those have an edge over the ones that you have to tap to increase, because in order for that one to be beneficial, you do want there to be a number of cards already out. Every now and then you're playing and that card comes early and you can't even apply the counter to anything, and then there's nothing out with the counters, and then it's exposed, and then so it's of course a timing thing, but I do like when everything kind of lines up and you can just continuously make all your stuff stronger. Next up, we have another angel. This one's Sarah Avenger. Can't cast it during your first, second, or third turns. It's flying and vigilance. The fact that it only costs 2, I don't mind that you can't do first, second, or third because usually you're getting your land out anyway, and maybe there's another cheap card that you can get out, but it's just another mean flying vigilant thing to have out. A 3/3 flying with vigilance, plus you can boost it with other cards. It ends up working out. We also have Checkpoint Officer. This one is deceptively cruel. If you spend 1 and a plains and tap this, you just tap a target creature. And it doesn't seem like it'd be that helpful, but some of the cards I've played up against, you're like, no, you need to tap that thing all the time. Oh, Wall of Reverence. This card is one of my absolute favorites because it is how you start to boost your life up, and after a couple of turns, it's just so miserable for everybody else to watch your life total go up so much. So it's Defender and Flying. At the beginning of your end step, you may gain life equal to the power of a target creature you control. You've already seen some of the other ones I have where the power just starts at 5 or starts at 4. So getting that one out, even if you don't have something particularly powerful out, even if you're getting just a couple back every single turn for doing nothing but just that card is out, it really starts to be beneficial very quickly. We also have another Angel card, Angel of Condemnation. This one's great for defensive purposes, I would say, more so than offensive purposes, even though it could be offensive if you so chose. So it says it's flying and vigilant. If you spend 2 and a plains and tap, you can exile another target creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. That's a good option if something has a lot of counters on it and you want to get rid of the counters. But the other option is great if you just need to get something out of there and you don't really care about using this one offensively, which is spend the same amount, but you exert Angel of Condemnation, exile another target creature until Angel of Condemnation leaves the battlefield. So it does become relatively useless at that point. It's just kind of fending something off, but still great. Oh, next up. I just love my cards. I love so many of them, and I am just excited to geek out with whoever ends up watching this, which is probably nobody. But God Eternal Oketra. This one, I'm shocked, does not cost more. It has double strike. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. When God Eternal Oketra dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. So it's mostly a you can't get rid of me card, which I love. We also have Welcoming Vampire. This one is flying, and whenever 1 or more other creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. I really do like going through a lot of my cards. I know for some people, they prefer not to go through their deck too quickly, but for me, because of cards like God Eternal Oketra, when you cast a creature spell, the more options I have to get said things into my hand and then create more tokens, and then have potentially more things with like vigilance or flying that you can boost. I just like getting that stuff out as quickly as possible. So I'm a fan of anything that triggers the ability to draw more cards. And then we have my husband's least favorite card in my entire deck, and he will on occasion request that I take this one out. I do have a card because he primarily plays green, a little bit of black. I have a card that is basically one of those that, you know, the spells that are green-black don't really affect it, and I just leave that one out because I feel like if that one shows up, it's just unfair. So that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. This card, though, its ability, my husband just gets so angry at. If you tap this card, that's all you have to do, just tap it, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. And he gets so angry because he'll have his dinosaurs or really strong bug people things, and then that card will be out, and if he doesn't have some kind of enchantment or means of getting rid of it, he just can't play the big stuff because I'm going to kill it immediately, and it makes him so upset. And as I said, he will request that I take it out, and sometimes I oblige, and sometimes I'm like, no. Next up, we have a Healer's Hawk. It is flying with lifelink. It's only 1/1. It only costs 1 to get out, so it seems like one of those that it's good for the perks like God Eternal Oketra and whatnot. But I do find that some of those really just like, oh, just get them out quick cards can be really deceptive because you can start boosting it, and then all of a sudden you're just stuck with this card that came out early that you weren't thinking was a threat, and suddenly it has all of these things added to it. So I really like that one. Resolute Watchdog also only costs 1. It's a defender. If you spend 1, you sacrifice Resolute Watchdog. Target creature you control gains indestructible until the end of the turn. Definitely very beneficial. And then last, for the white card creatures that I have, we have Bane Slayer Angel. And this one is flying, first strike, lifelink, and protection from demons and from dragons, which is just so much fun. I do like the specifications like that over when something has protection from an entire color. I do feel like it makes it so that it's a little more strategically mean, as opposed to the other ones just feel almost too powerful. But that one I definitely think is a lot of fun. So as you can see, a lot of white, a lot of flying, a lot of vigilance, a lot of lifelink, a lot of angels. I am going to mention the one land card that I feel like is interesting for this deck, because a lot of the other ones are just when you put it on the battlefield, you get 1 life. Those are the kinds of land cards that I like to have, and I often have cards that have multiple colors because of the fact that I do have a mix of colors. But the only one that I feel like is pertinent to that is Seraph Sanctuary, because when Seraph Sanctuary enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and anytime an angel enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. So that's another great one to have, because every now and then, you just those little bits as it increases can really make the difference in a game. As for the other colors that I have that are creatures, we have 2 blues. One of them is a Murmuring Mystic, and this one is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. And to have 5 defense on a card like that is pretty solid, so I do really appreciate that one, and I do like my instants and sorceries. So I also appreciate that that one is both instant or sorcery. I wish it also included enchantments, but I understand why it does not. And then we have Wingspan Mentor, which is very similar to Keen Sight Mentor, except for this one, rather than this one which boosted vigilance, this one here boosts anything that has flying counters. Sometimes my strategy is I'm going to accumulate as much life as possible, and I'm just going to boost everything until I can have that one big hit where they just cannot do anything against this. So I don't mind sometimes if it works out to play the long game, because usually I can survive for longer given the life length. Now we have some colorless cards. I only have a couple of these. We have Rampaging Monument, which I actually don't have that many multicolored spells, but the way this one works is that it gets a boost every time that you play a multicolored spell. And because I do have a lot of different colors, it comes up on occasion. So that one's nice to have the occasional, like, oh yeah, this one's actually getting a little stronger. We also have Ugin's Conjurant, and this one enters with however many, X that you play. So it could be just a quick, I just got to get this out. Maybe this will be beneficial to something else that's out, or sometimes it can go out onto the battlefield already being extremely deadly. Just depends on what I'm going for. And then Stone Coil Serpent. This one has reach, trample, and protection from multicolored. Stone Coil Serpent enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So it's kind of like the previous one, but has a few more attributes to it. For multicolored creatures, one of the first ones, we have True Fire Captain. This card is fantastic with the exception of if it's up against something with trample, because then the trample hits you anyway, which kind of sucks. And the trample doesn't necessarily go onto the person that used it, because you'll see the way the card works is that whenever True Fire Captain is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target player. So when it's trample though, the trample, whatever the extra amount is, that's going to hit me, and that's not necessarily doing damage to True Fire Captain. So I would say this one seems way better than it is. It also has the mentor thing, so when it attacks, you can boost something else. But I do find that that one can be very good. It's just that's the workaround, I feel like, with it. We also have Deputy of Detention. This is so good for anytime somebody has cards that duplicate. So it says when Deputy of Detention enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name as that permanent until Deputy of Detention leaves the battlefield. I sometimes am just praying for that card to come up. In certain games, you're like, oh my gosh, I am getting so tired of this army of bugs, or whatever the case may be. So I definitely find that one is very useful. It's like a creature and instant sorcery kind of mixed into one. I also love Fronland Philidar. Not sure if I'm saying that one right, but this one is one of the only creatures, I think it might be the only creature I have with green. And this one is Vigilance. Creatures you control with Vigilance have the ability of spending 1 and tapping to tap a target creature. So it's kind of like the little officer card from before, the checkpoint officer, except for meaner, because it gives that ability to anything with Vigilance. And I had to add some kind of green into my deck just so that I could put that in, because I'm like, I gotta have that ability. That's too good. And then last, a kind of simple card, but ends up being very effective in a lot of games because of the fact that it has menace and it's so cheap, would be Sky Terror. It's 2/2. I feel like chipping away constantly is great, and I think that card is perhaps more valuable than it comes across. There's some ones that have obvious, really awesome effects, but that one is simple, straight to the point, but very effective. I'm not totally in love with the two planeswalkers that sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. So if you have recommendations for planeswalkers you think would be really great with my deck, feel free to let me know. But the two planeswalkers that I play with from time to time would be Dovin, Architect of Law, as well as the Wandering Emperor. I'll have on the screen the perks of these two. These can be great when everything kind of comes together. I don't like building my deck around these certain circumstances all have to fit into place. I like there being some flexibility and some security. That's why I like lifelink so much and why I like vigilance so much and flying. But that's why I like those things, because I feel like I can just kind of sit and wait and protect and build. I don't like the idea that I need to set everything up for certain things. And I kind of just always feel like my planeswalkers, they feel like that because I have to protect them, and then if I want them to stay out, then I have to dedicate defending, like certain creatures defending them, and then I can't attack as often when I do want to attack, and maybe I'd get health back if I just went ahead and attacked and have lifelink. So I don't know, I feel like there's a double-edged sword there with them. Do the pros outweigh the cons? I just am not totally sold on those two, and I would love maybe a different one that was more helpful. I don't have too many enchantments. I prefer instants and sorceries. I especially prefer instants because I like the reactionary aspect of them. And enchantments are great, but I have the one card that works well with instants and sorceries, so I prefer if the job can get done by an instant or sorcery using those. But enchantments are great too. So one of my favorite enchantments, Captured by the Consulate. Enchant creature you don't control. Enchanted creature can't attack. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it has a single target, change the target to enchanted creature if able. So this is really great for if, as an example, I have so many flying cards, and sometimes my husband will just have a card that's like kill something with flying. And so if I put that on a card that has flying, then it has to go to that instead of my stuff. So at the very least, it's kind of protection in that sense. Also, some cards get stronger and stronger every time they attack. For example, like the Ooze card. And I hate that card. So if I can prevent it from attacking and getting stronger each time, that is also really helpful. That card is just great, and it's not too expensive. And then we have Pacifism. This one, just enchanted creature can't attack or block. Really cheap, doesn't have that extra benefit of the cards other people play are actually directed at the thing that the Captured by the Consulate is on. However, it gets the job done, and it's very helpful. Sentinel's Mark, Flash, enchanted creature gets +1/+2 and has vigilance, and an addendum is when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it during your main phase, enchanted creature gains lifelink also until the end of the turn. So there's just a lot of benefits to that one, and it's very cheap. And then we also have Primal Empathy, one of the additional few green cards that I have. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. So that one just has a lot of flexibility. I said before, I really like anything that lets me draw more cards because I just like the ability to make more decisions, get more land out, try to have variety in the land with its colors. So I just absolutely love that ability. And then also Mystic Subdual, Flash, enchanted creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities. That's the part that I like about that card, and it only costs 2. One of them is Electro Dominance, and if you get this late enough in the game, it's just unfair because it can be a game ender. Electro Dominance deals X damage to any target. You may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So that one can be very brutal. Shredded Sails, choose one, destroy target artifact. Shredded Sails deals 4 damage to target creature with flying, or you can cycle it. So it's just some variety. And then also Dusk and Dawn. These cards are so mean. I know there's one that's, I think, like Heaven and Earth, and it does damage to things with flying and things that are not flying. But I don't have that card. I've just seen it before, and it's a similar one to this. So Dusk, the way it works is destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. And sometimes, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. You just gotta start fresh, and I'm fine with that. And then the Aftermath, return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hands. Keep safe, only costs 2, so it's very easy to kind of keep some land set aside for this. Counter a target spell that targets a permanent you control. Draw a card. Love it, straight to the point, very simple and effective. We also have Lazotep Plating. This one says amass 1, and then you and permanents you control gain hexproof until the end of the turn. And then Essence Scatter. This one I always feel kind of bad because it's just counter target creature spell. And I always feel bad because there's just such joy when you go to cast a creature you're excited about and to just be like, no. I just think that's kind of mean, but I also want to win, so it's in my deck. We also have Collision or Colossus, and Collision is, it deals 6 damage to target creature with flying. If you use it as Colossus, target creature gets +4/+2 and gains trample until the end of the turn. They're both very cheap, doesn't take much, but it can definitely change the tide of a certain turn. Revival or Revenge, this one is brutal, and one of the only reasons that I have any land that also has black in it is for this card, because I enjoy it too much. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Other option is double your life total. Target opponent loses half their life rounded up. It's so mean. And then we have back to instance. Arrester's Seal, target creature gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn, and if you cast the spell during your main phase, that creature gains flying until the end of the turn. We also have Summary Judgment, and this one, it deals 3 damage to a target tapped creature. If you cast during your main phase, it does 5 instead. Blade Banished, exile a target creature with power 4 or greater. Sometimes you just need those straightforward, like, no, let's get this out of here cards. Then we have Will of the All Hunter. Target creature gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn. If it's blocking, instead put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. You also have the option of cycling. And a card that if I get early, I really appreciate, because sometimes if things aren't working out, you can have some options with this one. You either can gain 4 life, destroy a target enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and that would be Light of Hope. And then we have Unbreakable Formation, another one my husband hates, which is creatures you control gain indestructible until the end of the turn. And if you cast it during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain vigilance until the end of the turn. But that's it for some of my favorite cards that I have for Magic the Gathering. I'm so excited for the Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering collaborations. I can't wait to just look through all the cards and figure out which ones I feel like would work well together. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see all the artwork. I can't wait to see all this nostalgia from my childhood and just the love of that game in this playable card game that I think is so fun. I can't wait. So for anybody that ended up taking the time to geek out with me over Magic the Gathering, thanks so much for watching. As I said before, please feel free to treat me like I'm an idiot and tell me about cards that you think would be great, or any advice you have, anything you want, because I love Magic the Gathering and I always enjoy getting better at any kind of game or anything like that. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.